As a Green Party, we think this is long overdue. We started championing this agenda in 2013. It was our election manifesto for 2015 elections, and it was also election manifesto for 2016 elections. And it's a pity that government has taken so long to buy into this agenda. But generally, we are happy that finally this has come to pass. We only hope that government is going to implement this agenda in accordance with what we had proposed ourselves as a Green Party. Well, for us as a Green Party, what we had proposed is that we're going to have implemented this agenda through the Zambia National Service. And we're looking at implementing an agenda where we're going to have 129 farms countrywide, one farm in each district, under Zambia National Service in high security zones. And we had anticipated to employ about 2 million youths to work under Zambia National Service, recruit all these unemployed youths to make them work on those state farms under Zambia National Service. We had also planned that some of the farms we are going to operate like outgrower schemes for poor farmers who cannot afford to get licenses and run these farms. So that was our plan. So typically it was going to be a plan which was going to benefit not less than 4 million Zambians directly. And then we thought from our plan, which was actually reviewed by the London School of Economics and also Harvard University, we had planned to produce about 500 tons of cannabis every month, and we're looking at generating not less than $36 billion per year. So from our plan that time, that was going to have been almost 7 times the budget of Zambia when the budget was at $5 billion. Now it's at $7 billion, so it was going to be 5 times the budget of Zambia. And we're looking at a program which was going to be to increase our GDP from $27 billion to about $56 billion in the first year, and scale it up to about $80 billion by 2017, 2018. So it was going to be what we called a quantum leap in our economy to ensure that we reduce poverty in the country. Then what we were looking also at was that we're not going to focus more on medicinal cannabis alone. We wanted to scale it up to industrial aspects as well. Cannabis is used, or hemp you may call it, is used for the manufacture of pharmaceuticals. You also produce biodiesels, or these fuels from biomaterials. We produce clothing like jeans, canvas shoes, ropes, and so on and so forth. Also to use that for manufacture of cosmetics. It's used for manufacturing of various cosmetics like your hair creams, your body creams, and so on and so forth. Then also produce food, high nutrition foods for our children and those that are undernourished. So in addition to medicines, we're going to have also produced body parts for cars. These Marco Polo buses. When you look at that body for the Marco Polo bus, it's made from fiberglass, and the fiberglass from hemp or cellulose is one of the best materials. So they manufacture those body. You can make helmets for these riders on motorcycles. So really, for us, we're looking at big picture in terms of use of cannabis from medicinal aspects. Because the medicinal, from our calculation, was only giving us about $15 billion. So add another $25 billion from industrial uses. that would have been the best way to handle the cannabis. For now, we understand that government intends to license from the statement which has been made by the Minister of Information, where there was approval to a technical committee of government to proceed with the licensing mechanisms to be put in place and policy directions. That committee. So we haven't yet received data on the payments, besides what we read on social media from an undisclosed source, because the minister did not indicate on the amount. But if what we saw in the media is true, where to get a license will be $250,000, then that will be exclusively for the rich. Then we are going to cut off our small-scale farmers. You know, our small-scale farmers can't even afford to buy a bag of fertilizer. FISIP has been supporting these farmers year in, year out, where government provides maybe 4-8 bags of fertilizer every year and 1 or 2 bags of seed every year. So to ask a farmer who can't afford to buy a bag of fertilizer to pay $250,000 definitely is not tenable. It doesn't make sense. So the only way out is to make sure that the program which the government is going to come up with is inclusive, like the one we had come up as a Green Party, where we're looking at 2 million youths, unemployed youths, joining the Zambia National Service and having outgrower schemes for small-scale farmers, in addition to those that have managed to have their own high-security zone farms. We think ours was going to be more inclusive. But we're yet to see in detail what government intends to do, besides the statement that we saw from the Minister of Information, Honorable Zilia. Cannabis is a controlled substance at international level. There is what is called the Single Convention on Narcotics, which is the convention Zambia is a signatory to, the 1972 convention, and we have been a signatory since that time. But you need to understand that cannabis for medicinal purposes has been in our law books for a long time, from 1967, during Dr. Kaunda's time. The Dangerous Drugs Act, Cap 95 of the laws of Zambia, provides for use of cannabis for medicinal purposes, and the licensing is also under there. So it's a law we have been sitting with for the last 52 years or so, but which have not implemented because of certain shortfalls within the system. So all we need to do is to make sure that if we're going to trade in cannabis at international level, we need to comply with the UN Convention, the Single Convention on Narcotics of 1972, and then make sure that we license according to that. Then we have no problem. All these countries that have since joined in to trade in cannabis are operating within the UN Convention, which is under the WHO, the World Health Organization. That's the driving agency for the convention. So it's not going to be new. There's been these laws all this time, except that we have not implemented them. Even the Drug Enforcement Commission, which is created by Chapter 96 of the laws of Zambia, which is the Narcotics and Psychotropic Substances Act of 1993. In there is a provision, Section 9, which provides for use of cannabis for medicinal purposes. Okay, so we just need to make sure that we use these laws to trade into cannabis for medicinal purposes, and also just bring in supplementary regulations under Cap 95, which is the Dangerous Drugs Act, to ensure that everything is done smoothly. So government has delegated the Minister of Health instead of Minister of Agriculture, because of the already existing legislation, which is SCAPE 95, where licensing for cannabis is delegated to the Minister of Health under the Minister of Health. Well, first of all, in terms of regulation, of course, we will not license everyone. It's not possible to license everyone. Even in selling beer is not everyone who is licensed. But there are laws. If you are caught by the city council, police officers brewing beer without a license, you'll be arrested and charged, and there are penalties for that. So even cannabis, for those that are not going to get licenses, and if they want to engage into that trade illegally, they will be penalized. But how do we identify who must participate? We say that, first of all, we identify the youths who are not employed, give them the jobs to work as Zambia National Service production officers. So their job is to cultivate the soil and grow the chamber. And what we have said is that we're going to put it in every district farm, so that each district employs its own youths, not migrating from one town to another to go and get a job there. No. First of all, locals must be given priority number one. That's what we had said. Then for the farmers, small-scale farmers, they are known. Those that have chambers here and there, they are known. We just tell them, okay, come and we'll give you a portion in the Zambia National Service farm. You'll be cultivating chamber here. Your maize, you grow it at your traditional farm. But for chamber, we'll give you this small portion. You're going to grow it here, leave it here, we'll market for you here as a state. Okay, that is done. I think there's no problem to identify small-scale farmers. How is FISIP able to identify small-scale farmers to give fertilizer to? How are they giving them seed? So the same criteria used to select those people is the same criteria we use to select those who are going to run under the what we call the outgrower scheme for chamber. That's what we had proposed. For large-scale farmers, we know them where they have farms. All you have to do is to designate certain areas as high security zones where they are going to, the state will prescribe what security measures must be put in place, and they'll use their own money to build the infrastructure for security. All the state will do is to delegate Zambia National Service officers to go and enforce the law at those farms, depending on the license that has been given out. So we have no challenge. As the Green Party, we had no challenge on how to proceed to engage everyone, bring everyone on board, so that we don't leave anyone behind in benefit sharing from the cannabis business. Okay, so I think I need to make clarification. When we say medicinal marijuana, there are various types of medicines that you can manufacture from cannabis. Please, you need to know that these ARVs that people are drinking, one of the active ingredients in that drug is cannabis. So the doctors, they know how to prescribe ARVs. If you go to the hospital, you are HIV positive, they'll tell you, we're going to give you this type of ARVs. And they'll prescribe how many times you drink that drug and what else you need to do to do that. If you have cancer, you know, it's one of the painkillers. Several drugs that you see when people go for those chemotherapy treatment arrangements, some of the drugs have cannabis as an active ingredient in there. So the doctors, they know how to prescribe that. But for those that are going to be given a prescription that you have to smoke, because there's a type which is smokable, okay? In that particular case, again, the doctor will prescribe to say, when you feel pain, you have to smoke this aspect, okay? Those arrangements that have been put in place. Actually, it's packaged like the way you see Peter Stuyvesant, you see Rothmans, and all this. Yeah. So you take a shot, then the pain goes. Okay. So it depends with treatment. For a child with epilepsy, for example, it will be drugs, tablets, where the active ingredient will be in the tablet or in a syrup, which the child is going to drink. You understand? So it's because to come out, to be churned out from your pharmacy, pharmaceutical industry, sorry, where they will manufacture a particular drug and dispense it through pharmacies. So you go to a pharmacy shop where you're going to buy your medications, either as a syrup or a tablet or a shot to smoke. Well, the drug you're talking about is not a prescription drug, meaning that you can go over the counter and buy. But you cannot go to any pharmacy without a prescription to buy certain drugs, what are called prescription drugs. And cannabis definitely will be a prescription drug. You cannot go to a pharmacy and say, I want to get these ARV drugs, and they'll give you. No, they can't. Actually, they'll tell you, go to this clinic, for here, they go to Butch Clinic, Clinic 5. They go and prescribe there. You have to go with an NRC. They have to open a file for you, and they track you down. You know, they'll tell you, come and report. You have to report. So there's a regime put in place in the way those drugs are administered. And the same kind of regime for those that have TB, for example, tuberculosis, there's a regime for taking those drugs, which is prescribed, and you will have to use that system, which is already in place. People don't abuse TB drugs anyhow. Why? Because there's a system in place. Even if you are sick today, you go to that hospital, say, Nindwala TB, they'll not give you that drug. Because each maybe TB strain has its own type of drug you have to drink. So they have to confirm through lab tests. And once they do that, the doctor will prescribe a particular drug depending on their findings in the samples that you presented. And that is a regime that has always been there. So no one abuses those drugs. Well, like I've said, we haven't heard much from the government, besides telling us that it will be under Zambia National Service. They haven't told us how Zambia National Service will be involved. Of course, we had said it was going to be implemented through Zambia National Service. Okay, on that aspect, we are speaking the same language. But how is Zambia National Service going to be involved? They haven't explained. So until we look at the details, the devil in the details, then we should be able to say whether it is the same or not. For us, we talked about an inclusive agenda for small-scale farmers, for the unemployed youths, for the large-scale farmers. So we had a bigger picture approach. What we've seen from the social media is $250,000. So meaning that the target group is not a common man on the ground. It's not the unemployed person. It is those that have the money, the commercial farmers, meaning that is the target for government. Although, like I've said, that is still speculative, because the issue about money is not in the ministerial statement. So until government comes out with a comprehensive statement, then probably we should be able to evaluate whether it is closer to what the Green Party had advocated for implementation if we had won elections in 2016 and 2015, or is it totally different. But the best they need to do is to come to the Green Part so that we can assist them structure a program which is going to be beneficial to the nation. You know, we've been running with this idea for 6 years, and we understand it very well. If it was in academics, we would have gotten a PhD in cannabis business, because 6 years is what it takes to train as a doctor. So we would have managed to do that. And so we have vast understanding of this agenda, and we know what can work, what cannot work. So we are the best persons to consult if it has to materialize effectively. Well, we've been aware as a Green Party that government has been contemplating doing this. We had a meeting with the Justice Minister about a year ago. We also had meetings with the the Justice Ministry officials, the Ministry of Health officials. They asked us to give inputs to what they were thinking. But we've not had like a direct engagement where we are looking at the program in detail, so that we're able to counsel them on what must be done. So it was like ordinary consultation, but not from the premise that we structure or restructure their program. But the best thing to do is to give us the whole plan and we dissect it. And then we will tell them whether it is workable or not.